Okay, so just in kind of looking at what is this course that we've started out on. So we are now closing in on the end of week 3. So we have a little ways to go, but this is a good time to kind of already start doing a refresh, to have our first live event, and then to kind of make our way forward. So we do have another live event scheduled this evening. So the reason that I did that was, again, not recognizing what was going to work better for people. So if they would prefer to have it in the morning, if they prefer to have it in the evening. So I did try and kind of spread it out a little bit to give people the option. So by options, I mean you can attend in the morning, you could attend also in the evening, you can watch the recording, whatever it is that suits you or works with your schedule. So just kind of launching into this a little bit. My name is Emily. I did do a brief video. I know there were some YouTube issues with it loading, but just to kind of let you know that I have, oh goodness, I've been doing this for a little bit in terms of teaching. I have a lot going on personally, and the reason why I share that as well, between being a mom, being a full-time regional director for multiple hospitals here in Arizona, I just want you to recognize that I know what it is to be really busy and to sometimes have to reprioritize things. And so that's why I kind of share that, is that, you know what, if ever anything comes up, you need some more time for something, I will give you as much flexibility as I can. Of course, you know, there's certain things that I can't do, like when we have to end a course or like the discussion questions, but when it comes to anything else, I am happy to support you in whatever way works for you. Okay, so a little bit more about this course. So this course, of course, 4 credits. It focuses on CPT, HCPCS. So again, my name is Emily Lowry. This started about 2.5 weeks ago, and it runs until mid-August. So that's actually quite a while. You know, when I think about it, it basically spans the whole summer break for my kids. Okay, and then of course we do have those optional live events. So today we're running an AM and a PM, plus we'll have the recording. And then on July 30th, we'll be doing it again. That time it's a Tuesday, so maybe that will work well. Again, an AM and a PM and a recording. And then I'm thinking about adding another one, which would be more like an interactive study session. So we can kind of talk about that in the future. And I'll run a survey in our Canvas inbox to see where people stand on what would be a good time for that. Okay, so we'll go ahead, and again, there are multiple offerings for us to connect via Zoom. So again, today we have an AM option and a PM option, and they're a little bit odd timing wise, but to be honest with me in Arizona, I am on Pacific time, and so it is currently 6:30 in the morning here in Arizona. And then running this again at 8:30 tonight, and that's actually 5:30 Arizona. So I had to kind of cap it around my work schedule to keep it during the week. If it's determined that people would prefer to meet on a Saturday or a Sunday, I can do that as well, and I personally do not have as many time restrictions on those days too. And then again, our next time is on a Tuesday. So always so important. Be sure to participate. And in this course, one of the main ways that we can participate, build our sense of community, is to get into the discussion boards. So don't feel like you know, you have to cap it at only 2 responses. If people are adding valuable content, or you have questions about something, feel free to just go ahead and pursue it. I think one of the great things within our discussion question is that quite a few people, you know, even this week, when we have the, we're picking our sections, right, within CPT. Some people have been sharing stories about why they selected that section. And I have to say, there's like already some that have shared their story that I have following questions that necessarily don't follow along with the CPT or HCPCS guidelines. They're largely like, so you picked that for a reason. I'm kind of curious as to why. So then also just another reminder outside of the discussion question, another opportunity to connect is that I have office time on Tuesday mornings, and that's from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern. So this right here is just a graphic showing, you know, the breakdown of, in this course, assignments are a huge component of the grade. So very important if you're ever trying to prioritize your time. You know, maybe family members have been sick, maybe you're sick. Maybe, I don't know, maybe your kids are attending basketball tournaments and you can't get to your work. Be sure you prioritize what's going to have the biggest impact for you. And then, of course, communicate with me. Let me know what it is that you need, and I will accommodate as much as I can. So this kind of comes down to some of the basics, things that, you can definitely be successful in this class, but it's very important to communicate, to participate, and to commit. So I'll just kind of leave it at that. I had introduced a little bit of that within the welcome video that I did, but I just wanted to remind again, life is busy. I totally get it. The most important thing you could do is to communicate. Let me know, Emily, you know what, I'm falling behind. Here's what's going on. Is it possible to maybe get an extension on this certain something? Because I can do that on most things, not at the end of the course, and those discussion questions really have to stay within their week. But beyond that, I am happy to work with you. Okay, so kind of looking at what it is that we have covered already so far in weeks 1 through 3. So I pulled here, these are all of the snippets from our syllabus. So just kind of looking at, within each week, what are the different things that we're looking at? Well, it's been, largely, and I summarized it up here in the bullet points, because to be honest, it's a little bit small looking at the snippets from the syllabus. But it really centers around an introduction to HCPCS, right? Recognizing what is level 1, what is level 2, even beyond that, modifiers, things like that. And then, of course, the introduction to our CPT book. So the irony is my CPT book still has not come in the mail, so I have an older one. but this has been really where we've been at so far with weeks 1 through 3. So what we're doing at this point is, really just kind of getting our feet into it. So I have to ask, are you enjoying it so far? Is there, anything about it that you have questions? We are going to go into a refresh in just a second. But how are you feeling so far about weeks 1 through 3? Oh, Tamian, did I lose you? Okay, well, I'll go ahead and continue on, but just kind of thinking about, if there is anything that is jumping out at you. And again, I see within the discussion questions a lot of great discussion. People have identified a lot of great resources. So I think that we're really building on our opportunities within that environment. So let's see where that takes us. And again, it's just the beginning of the course. So it's very possible that, as we get to, implementing this function a little bit further, then we might have some more questions. Okay, so kind of jumping in, and this is where it might be just a little bit tricky. Let's see here. So what I wanted to do was to have just a refresh on weeks 1 through 3. So what we have at this point is I've built a Jeopardy game, and we're going to go ahead and kind of work through, and again, it is content pulled directly from weeks 1 through 3. So let me just run over here really quick to our dashboard, and just once again, do you have any questions about anything in the course hub, any questions on the content before we start into the refresh? Okay, and if you're not able to work on audio, you can absolutely use the chat box. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and jump over here. This is a Jeopardy game that I created utilizing content from our reading. So pulling this from the reading that we've been doing, pulling it from even life experience in terms of use of a CPT and HCPCS, but keeping it all within the scope of the content that we've touched in weeks 1 through 3. I briefly thought of adding in week 4 just to see who was working ahead, but you know what? I managed to come up with all these squares just in content from weeks 1 through 3. So we're good. Okay. So, oh, thank you for the chat, Tamian. Okay. Am I seeing your name correctly? Is it Tamian? Okay, great. I'm always slightly intimidated by names that I haven't encountered before. I have to say, even if I think that I've encountered a name before, I'm still a little bit intimidated, and that's because of life experience. I had someone that I was interviewing recently, and I thought for sure her name was Kira. It turns out it was Kyra. I called her the incorrect name probably 4 times before she told me. So just a little paranoid. Okay, so what I have here is, again, different questions. And I'm sure you're familiar with the game Jeopardy, right? It's been around for, I don't even know, probably 30, 40 years. I don't know. But it's a very simple concept. It is, it gives you a statement, and basically you come up with the answer is part of the question. What is something? You don't have to say what is. but just make an attempt at, what do you think the answer is? And I guess there is a little bit of pressure on you, Tammy, and since you are the only one here this morning. A lot of times this will go, it won't be as much pressure when there's maybe 3 or 4 people to kind of spread it out between. Okay, but again, this is content that we have encountered already, things that we can even like add on to. Okay, so we're gonna do this for about, oh goodness, just shy of 15 minutes. And then I'll go ahead and take a pause. Any questions you might have about the course, any questions you might have about Go Forward, and then that is it for this morning. So we're gonna go ahead and launch into this for about 12 to 15 minutes. Okay, so Hemi, where would you like to start on this? Pick a category, pick a point value. Okay, so you want to go for level up? Do you want to start with 10? We can go ahead and start with 10. Okay, so on this one, this is level up HCPCS level 1 versus level 2. So it's going to be things related to the differences between them. So this first one, this level contains alphanumeric characters. Which level is that? Don't worry about the timer. I wish that I could reset the timer. I may be able to, and I just don't know how. But I feel like it goes really fast. Let's go ahead and pause here for a second, and then we'll look at the answer. So this one contains alphanumeric. The answer is level 2. Yeah, okay, you were typing that as well. Great job. Yeah, so this one, as we know, HCPCS level 1, CPT, is going to be numeric, but then we have HCPCS level 2, which starts adding in those alpha, becomes a little bit more complicated in terms of data entry. And I say that because when you're doing a straight up CPT, you can keep your fingers on the 10 key when you're putting that in. When you go to level 2, you have to actually venture over onto the keyboard. It doesn't sound like a big deal until you're doing a significant number of claims. Okay, what category would you like next? You want to stay in the same? Okay, so call in the temp service. Let's go ahead and start with 10 points for call in the temp service. This code category is identified by the keywords Medicaid and mental health treatment. So think about which temporary code category might this be. I don't know if you've memorized this yet or if you know which table to run to see this. I'm going to give it just a moment. Okay, you know what, and to be honest, I was too. I had to pull mine out. Off the top of my head, I was questioning myself. This one is actually the H codes. So these are reported to state Medicaid agencies that are mandated by law. Okay, so this is to establish separate codes for mental health services, even like drug and alcohol treatment, those types of things. Yeah, again, some of these are kind of obscure, so go ahead. And which category would you like next? I'm certain that if you work in an environment where you use those codes a lot, they will come to you very readily. But as we're working on foundations, it just takes just a little bit. Okay, level up. So let's go over here to 20 points. A revised code will be identified using this shape. So thinking of the shapes that are noted, I guess, as the key in the CPT book that would identify that something is a revised code. I'm sorry, it's a very Thursday morning. I'm almost out of water. Okay, so this one, what is the code? There are only a couple things that are used to denote for the key. In this one, it is actually the triangle. So if you remember, we have some that are circles, triangles, and then what do you call that when there's a line straight through? Okay, so that's how we identify triangle is a revised code. So that kind of helps us to know that. The longer that you code, you may have codes that you memorize because maybe there's common procedures that you code, especially if you work in a specialty office. I've known quite a few coders that they would just go ahead and read it, and they are already, they keep their paper and they just start like writing down the codes because they have to memorize, because maybe their surgeon does this something all the time. Or, you know, maybe they work in neuro and this certain test is done very often. They have those codes memorized. So they don't even need cheat sheets anymore. They just sit there and start logging them. And every once in a while, they drag their book over and do some lookups. Okay, great. Oh, okay. So you understand then as well, yeah, working in cardiology and neuro, that there's things that are just, it's prolific. I think if you're in primary care, it may be a little bit harder because you're going to have a little bit wider range. But yeah, you start to get very familiar with the certain body systems. Oh, great. So what have you done? I guess you're saying worked in the past tense. What have you done in those environments? Has it been anything related to the coding or even familiarity with the different services provided? Okay, so you see a lot of that surgery scheduler. Okay, now that's very interesting. Thank you for sharing. I didn't realize that. Okay, where would you like to go next? Which category? Level up again. Let's go ahead and go for 30. So to code an injectable, the coder will use this type of code. What is the letter that we're looking for? Yes, absolutely. Nailed that one right on the head. The J code. This is one they use quite a bit because it's just very prevalent. So J code, great. That one came fast. Okay. What category would you like to go to now? Okay. I'm imagining you're probably going to want to continue through the level up. So let's go ahead and go for 40 and then we'll go for 50. Okay, so for 40, these letters do not lead any of the HCPCS level 2 codes. So kind of like how we just identified J, there are some letters that are not utilized, that will not be alpha, numeric, numeric, numeric. Right, so which letters will never appear at the beginning of a HCPCS level 2 code? Okay, so it is at the very end of the alphabet. I don't know why they stopped, but you were close. You were close. They actually do use, I believe, Q codes are some of the temporary codes, but yeah, they do not actually lead off any with W, X, Y, and Z. So I guess the easiest way to remember that is you'll never make it all the way to the end of the alphabet. Okay, let's go for 50. 35% of the HCPCS level, oops, I have a lovely formatting issue right there. 35% of the HCPCS level 2 code set includes this type of code. What type of code is it? This one probably could have multiple answers, but there's one we're looking for. It's just, it's a type of code. It's not a letter. I'll just go ahead and give you this one. It is actually temporary codes. So 35% of the HCPCS level 2 is actually made up of temporary codes. So as you know, temporary codes are one of those things that they come up with to be able to kind of fill the gaps between the time and when they do the annual updates. Also, maybe different payers will come up with a different need for something. Technology may come up with a different services being provided. And again, to kind of fill those gaps between the annual updates, they'll come up with temporary codes. Okay, great. What category would you like to go to next? We have about 4 minutes left. And then we'll go ahead and jump back over just to questions or wrap up. So which category next? Okay, making it real. You're probably just slightly curious as to what is in these categories. Okay, so making it real for 10. This quantity is billed for a drug administered in a 70 milligram dose. When the HCPCS code notes per 50 milligrams dose, but you're administering 70, how many quantities are you billing for? So as you can guess, making it real means solving actual coding questions. So what is the quantity that we would bill for if we're administering a 70 milligram dose and the HCPCS code is doing it by 50? It is actually 2 because you've exceeded the 50 and have now gone into the second, I don't know if you want to call it bucket, whatever it might be. But when it would come to your quantity on that CMS 1500 claim form, you would identify it as 2. Okay. Again, you have to look at what is it that that specific code is identifying as the quantity. Okay, would you like to try making it real again? You seem to like to pick a category and stay there, so I was just checking. Okay. So for 20 points, these 2 claims are generated when a doctor treats a Medicare patient for a broken ankle and supplies with crutches, right? So 2 different claims. What are these claims? Yes, that is one of them, a DME claim. You know, I wish that they had like the little bubbles in the chat box so I could tell if you were typing or if you were done. But here you go. You would have the claim for the fracture care, right, which is the physician services. Thank you. You were typing in the office claim. So you have the claim for the actual services that were provided. So what we might call the pro fee billing. And then that is being sent to the primary MAC. But then you also have that DME component, like you said, where you would be putting in for those supplies with the crutches. Fantastic. Okay. We'll go ahead and follow through for 30. This claim form's block 24D allows the HCPCS level 2 and CPT codes and multiple modifiers to be reported on the same line. What is the name of this claim form? It's one that we see a lot within the professional environment. So not really looking at it from the facility perspective, but more so from the physician's office or physician services. What might this be? Yes, the 1500. This is the CMS 1500. Used to be called the HCFA 1500. So if you hear people calling something the HCFA form, it means that they've been doing this for a while. Okay. So back in the day, we used to always call it the HCFA. Healthcare Financing Administration, but it was still coming from the same source. They just updated the name. It's been a few years now. Okay, we'll go ahead and finish this category and then we'll jump back to my slides. This modifier is added to codes for procedures that are performed on both sides during the same operative session. What is this modifier? You know, maybe you saw this as well when you were doing cardiology. If somebody was having a left-right type scenario, what might, it's very prevalent like in orthopedics. And there's a lot of other things too. So what might this be? This modifier. It's a 2-digit number. Okay. So this one again, it depends if you've had to actually put it together, but this one will be a 50. So instead of, so if you go in and there's something that a surgeon does and it's a 2-sided, that is actually going to be a 50. So, oh, welcome, Desiree. Okay, and then we have our final one. I'm going to go ahead and jump on this one. So what is this one? This modifier is used to identify an ambulance transfer that provided transport from the physician's office to the hospital facility. So thinking about not the actual code itself, but we're looking at the modifier. So what might the modifier be? Again, another 2-digit. However, this one is actually 2 alphas. You know what this one might be? This one actually, it actually almost kind of describes itself a little bit. It's a reach. You think you might know what this one is? Okay, again, a little bit easier once you've gotten into doing this. This one is actually pH. So the reason why I said that it kind of identifies itself a little bit is so you have that table when you go into the book, and then it sends you to the guidelines for that section, right? So you're looking at transportation. This one being like a to from scenario. Well, what you identify, the first letter of this modifier is where you were coming from. The second letter is where you were going to. It does not always line up as clear as this, but for this scenario, this was coming from the physician's office, which those specialty guidelines identify. P is the modifier for coming from there, and the H would be going to the hospital. So in this one, it kind of spells it out a little bit. It might just be a completely random. Here we go. Okay, so we made it through 2 full sections. So just to let you know, we did split this so that we have a half an hour this morning, a half an hour tonight. If you want to come back, we're going to do more. If you are not able to make it again, I am actually going to be sending out the link to this game so you can do it yourself. You can even, I don't know, looking for some Friday night fun for your family, challenge them to some Jeopardy, maybe 6 Jeopardy. Okay, so let me jump back over to this. So we have, of course, Alex Trebek patting you on the back. So hey, why not? It's a great way to start the morning. All right, and that is it for this morning. So we have like 2 minutes left. So really, we have a lot of fun ahead of us. And, if you love problem solving, love finding your way, we're given all the tools when it comes to CPT and HCPCS, getting through the book, doing some of that problem solving. Very similar, back in the day when I first started coding, we did not necessarily have the encoders and things like that. Those really kind of started to come into the workplace probably about 5 years after I started. But we used to just like sit there and pull out our books, and we would run desk to desk sometimes, and you would ask other people for their opinions on how to code something. We of course had ICD-9 at that point. But again, making your way through your book, getting really comfortable with that, being able to look things up, it's like problem solving, maybe even a little bit of like mini CSI. So if you love that kind of stuff, you're really going to thrive in this. But the most important thing is to not become frustrated, to recognize that like you can do anything. The most important thing is if you have any hiccups or anything, please reach out to me. Let me know, and I am so happy to help. And Desiree, do not worry that you are late. If you can come back this evening, that is fantastic. But we also have a recording, so you can watch that as well, and I will send it out. So just to show you really quick, I think you saw a little bit that we did have our just a Jeopardy game that we did that focused on things from weeks 1, 2, 3. So I'm just kind of breaking it out. We only got through 2 sections, but we're going to be doing more tonight. So if you can come back, you're welcome to do so. But like I said, I will be sending it out as well. So, all right, you guys, have a fantastic rest of your day. I am actually getting ready to commute into Phoenix now, and I will be back online this evening. So if you're able to come back, that is wonderful. If not, I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you later. All right, bye. Thank you. You too.